Barbarian has finally come out in Ireland. I've finally got a chance to see it, and now we get a chance to review it. Hey guys, I'm Karl. Welcome to my movie film show. Feel free to subscribe down below if you would like to. But today, we're here to talk about Barbarian. It's a movie that came out a while ago in America, but it's only reached Ireland now, so I've had to wait. I've heard very good things about it, and now I've had the chance to see it. I was also intrigued by this movie because of the trailer they put out for it. It was something along the lines of Justin Long's next movie. And in the trailer, they put up cards saying, from the producer of Alvin and the Chipmunks. They did a really good job in the trailer of making you go, oh, what's this funny little Justin Long movie? And then it turns out to be a horror movie. And I'm not a big horror guy. I mentioned this when I reviewed Smile recently. I don't watch a lot of horror movies, but just something about Barbarian called out to me that's a movie I need to see. And it's interesting with this movie because the movie's an hour and 40 minutes long, and the first 40 minutes of the movie, there's not much horror in it at all. There's very good tension build up. There's very good mystery building in it. There's very good use of sound effects and darkness, just staring into darkness at times with a certain soundtrack building, letting your own mind fill up the gap of what's coming down that tunnel towards us. When's the jump scare going to come? And this isn't a movie that heavily relies on jump scares. However, what I will say is I don't think it's as good as people have been saying it is. I know that on Rotten Tomatoes, the critic score is over 90%, while the audience score is 70%, something in or around there. And I think a lot of the reason the audience score is lower, partially because there's been a lot of really good horror movies come out this year. I've heard some very good things about a lot of movies that I haven't even seen. Recently, I watched Smile. I found that to be fantastic. I know stuff like X and Pearl got really good acclaim as well. It's been a really good year for horror movies. The thing I will say for Barbarian, I kind of expected more horror. I expected it to be a little bit more barbaric, as you would expect from the title. And there certainly was moments in it that were pretty gruesome, like the ending that Bill Skarsgård meets, spoiler alert. But as I mentioned, the first 40 minutes doesn't have much horror in it at all. A bit of intrigue, what's happening here? The woman rolls up to the house that she's rented on Airbnb. She's checking out the street and it looks like a dodgy street. Music is all the way building up that tension. Then she finds out there's another man in the house that she's rented. Turns out he's just rented the same Airbnb. But there certainly is a lot of intrigue there. And then when they ultimately end up in the cellar, which why people keep going to the basement in horror movies, I don't know. Woman finds a string in the wall, finds a rope hanging out of a wall. Now, if I'm in a basement in a house that I don't know and I find a rope in a wall, my initial reaction is just, no, not touching that. Her reaction was, let's pull it, see what happens. Insane. Who does that? But in fairness to her, when she does open that secret passage and she's just staring into the darkness, she does go, nope, nope, just walks away. That's exactly what I would do. That's where the creds would hit. And that'd be the end of the movie. But no, someone has to be brave, go check out the weird dark cave. And that's where all the horror elements pursue. The one thing I like in the movie is they left no stone unturned as to where does the monster, I guess, come from? Where is all the horror coming from? Everything's tied up in a nice little neat bow by the end of it. Everything gets a payoff, which is something that a lot of movies don't do. I felt the soundtrack was really good. Some of the tension building within the music was phenomenal. The use I mentioned of darkness and just almost a blank screen at times because you're just looking at darkness with something on the edges, like looking down that stairwell. It almost looked like a cave. It leaves it to your own mind to build up that tension, to build up that anxiety of what's coming. That was all really, really well done throughout the movie. But as I mentioned, the only part I felt it fell down on was the actual horror element. Maybe that's because I just very recently watched Smile, which had a demon crawl inside someone's mouth, which was freaky in itself, and people tearing off their faces and all that sort of stuff. This one does have a certain character at the end meeting a gruesome death, but they don't really show that. They more hear it. You know, the sound effect of the crack. That was pretty cool. So ultimately we get down to a rating out of 10 for Barbarian. And for me, it's a 7 out of 10 movie. It was a very enjoyable movie. I felt it could have been a little bit scarier, but it's a very engaging story, very well told. And if you're looking for a movie that'll get you out of your seat, but maybe not too high, this Halloween, check out Barbarian. However, if you want something a little bit scarier, I'd recommend you checking out my review of Smile. It's right over here. But if horror isn't even your thing, maybe you want to check out this movie over here. It's about Channing Tatum and a dog. So, what's scarier than that?